Hey YouTube, what's up? So sometimes we have hobbies that we work on. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably bow hunters. This happens to be one of my friend's bows, and I used to be an archery tech for a long time. Worked at a couple different sporting goods stores, and so he asked me if I would change out the strings on this Matthews Conquest 3 bow. So that's what I'm gonna do for him. Using a Sherlock X press, which has been around for a long time. Just happens to be what I have. Works pretty good on most of the bows. There's a few bows that it doesn't work real well with, but I don't own any of those bows, so this one works fine for me. I'm using Vapor Trail strings. It's a company that I've used for a long time, working at the sporting goods store, so I've had good luck with quality strings coming from there, so that's just where I happen to go. There's a lot of quality manufacturers out there, but I like their product. As you're replacing stuff, you want to inspect all the, like there's some plastic pieces that hold this top axle in, and that's where the Y cable attaches to. You want to inspect and make sure that, you know, that's not getting wore, not getting old and brittle or anything like that. Make sure that you haven't developed any burrs or anything like that on any of your cams or your idler wheels. Basic things like that. So if you see me looking at stuff, that's what I'm looking at is. There's timing marks down here on the cam. And every bow is different, but for this particular one, there's 2 holes. So I'm essentially putting a straight edge in line with those 2 holes, and that should run parallel to the string. So we're looking pretty good there. Now I just got to do some finishing touches. Obviously up here, that's where your peep sight goes. So the other thing you want to look at is make sure you don't have any crazy lean on your top limb where your Y cable is. You can put twists in either side to twist the limb if you see that it looks like the idler's not running true, but this looks pretty good. I'm looking at a stud over there on the wall to line up the limb and the idler wheel to check square. And that's looking pretty good too. So now we just need to put peep sight in here and get a knock loop tied back on there, and we'll be back in business. Okay, so for knock point, I've got BCY number 24 knock loop, and I've prepped this with beeswax, so I've just coated it with beeswax. I've burnt the end to where it's flared out, that way it won't pull through the knot. Basically just going to tie the lark's head knot on here, and then a second lark's head knot, and you want to go opposite ways on your termination of your lark's head knot. So the first one terminates facing this way, the second one terminates facing that way. It doesn't matter, you can swap it either way, but it keeps even torque on the string, or helps even the torque out on the string if you tie them opposing instead of on the same side. So you just want to tie it to where you've got kind of a short loop here. And then you don't have to have a tool like this, but I've got a special tool that sits in there, and we'll tighten that down. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and carefully, because you don't want to damage anything, I'm going to carefully cut this other end off. And then I'm going to take a lighter, carefully burn this other end, making a knot on the end of it. And just touch it with the side of the lighter there to flare it out. And then that'll tighten down and not pull through. So that's how we're going to do that. Now, before you tighten it down, you want to make sure you have it where you need it. So the way that I do that is I grab an arrow that I'm going to use. That'll level both axles, and works better if you put the bow in a vise and get it leveled real well. Then you can just take and set that guy like that. And you got it. You're ready to lock down. So just gently tighten that up. You don't want to go so hard that you tighten these knots down and start severing strands in your string below the serving. You just want to make a nice loop like that. It's going to be tight, it's going to stay put, but it's not too tight. And then if you were smart and you already had a string set up and you're just restringing, then you can measure and see where your peep sight needed to be. Then I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the knock loop. I'm going to take beeswax and I'm just going to coat it with beeswax. It helps protect the string and it also helps it to bite down on itself and not move once you set it. So the way I like to tie in the peep is I just go around one side of the bundles and I loop it back to itself, and then I just go around the string and I have a loop here and I just go through the loop and I pull that tight, and then I go around again back through the loop right here. And same thing, just pull it tight. And I usually do about 7 of those. And then I'll split the tails and just do an overhand knot to terminate, and then carefully cut those tails off. Grab my lighter. Now you want to make sure that you got this pointed up, not down. You don't want to be underneath your string trying to burn, because you'll burn your string. So put it to the top where you can have that flame above the string. And then just seal that off. And you got that one good. And then you need to do one on the bottom too to match it. So we'll grab another section here. Now the same thing, how I had one side terminate here and one side terminate here. So I went around, this is a black and blue string. I went around the black bundle to do the top. I'm going to go around the blue bundle to do the bottom. So now I've got it around the blue side over here. And just go around and through. Now I've got 7. Overhand knot to terminate that. carefully remove the tag ends. I should have gotten a sharper razor blade. That one was dull. When it's dull, you run a high risk of put too much pressure and running your knife into something you shouldn't. So it's better to have a fresh, sharp razor when you're working on this. Alright, that's pretty much what there is to replacing a bowstring. There's a couple other things I'm going to do to this bow. It's got limb savers on it, and the one on the bottom's gone. It's already fallen off. This one's getting all old and gummy and weird, so I got some fresh ones I'm going to put on. But that's the basics of getting your bow ready and setting it up. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks, guys.